You are listening to Anna Letitia Cook at Women Up Radio.
Good afternoon and welcome to Women Up Radio Inspired Women. Today's guest is Tulia Lopes. She's the founder of the OAR Summit and the Speak Up and Lead Academy. She's also an author and an award-winning international speaker. So welcome back to the show, Tulia.
Thank you very much for having me. And I'm surprised that the last time we talked was 3 years ago. My God.
I know. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. And last time I know we were speaking about assertive communication for effective leadership. And today we're going to talk more about confidence through effective communication. But just going back, over the last 3 years, can you give an update on what's been happening for women? Has the style of communication changed? Have there been any developments? How do you see the evolution?
Well, I will speak from my own experience in my own environment, in my own world, with my ladies, as I say.
Yeah.
It has been, we can see a considerable change from the aspect that women is more aware at this moment of the importance of them coming across with more confidence.
Yep.
And when we talked the last time, it was, I felt like I was still in that process where, in a way, trying to persuade them to understand the need of them to stand up and speak up.
Yes.
Nowadays, I feel like from the progress I've have done with my clients, with my communities, network, and people that I relate in a more regular basis, women especially, that this conversation is in a way over because women understand that they have to have a voice, that their space is there, is more set for them than before.
Yes.
And on that note, they have a more awareness that they have to hone their communication skills, that they cannot just go there and say whatever. Before they were kind of, I'm not really sure if my voice matters. Why should I? I don't care. But now they understand that if they want to propel their career or the business, they have to have visibility. And saying that, they have to have a voice out there. And especially with this pandemic now, that we are all in this environment.
That's right, our little box.
Our little box. And then what I say is everything you do here expands.
Yes.
Expands in the two different senses, like expands because we are closer. You see my face is my face, my torso here, and that's it. So I'm more exposed and also expands globally because with a click of a button, this conversation can reach us everywhere in the planet.
Exactly. It's incredible how it's spread like that because I know before all I did was recording the radio version and not also the video version. But over the last couple of years, particularly with the pandemic, everybody has got so used to using the camera that people are seeing who you are, what you're like, and they're seeing your expressions. They're seeing whether you look confident as well as sounding confident. And they're getting to get almost like a feeling for you. So as you say, if you don't have the confidence, if you don't come across as being comfortable and confident, it can really have a problem because it can make people think, I'm not sure. So I understand what you mean. And how does our way of communicating affect how we appear to others and particularly what we achieve in business?
Well, everything, right? I would say I have a saying that is everybody talks, few people communicate, and very few connect.
Yes.
So the fact that we are speaking and we are talking all the time, it misleads the fact that people think that they are communicating. And that is the big issue in businesses. in every communication, not only in business, but in your personal communication with your family, with your kids, is when you say something and expecting to have a certain impact or reaction from the other person, and you have a reaction or impact that you didn't expect. And then is when you feel like, what happened here? The communication was not there.
Yep.
And in most cases, like, well, I would say it wouldn't be fair to say most cases, but many people, when they are not trained in communication, when they are not aware, they didn't have the time or the patience or the intention of working on their communication skills, the first reaction would be, oh, Anna, it doesn't matter what I say, she doesn't understand me.
Yeah.
It's always putting the lack of communication, of understanding in the other person.
Yes.
However, I have bad news for the ones who think like that, because when you are not communicating, when you're not connecting, because communication is about building connections, building bridges, it's your problem. It's the problem of the one who wants to send a message. So this is why it's so crucial that you really pay attention in your communication skills. We all develop ways of communication throughout our lives based on our environment and the people we relate to. However, especially in this globalized environment, especially in this platform where you have the possibility to reach all different parts of the globe at the same time, it requires that you're more attentive to the way you are expressing yourself, to the language your audience is familiar to. Yes. Of course, we cannot please everybody. When you have like a presentation even for 10 people, it's very difficult to really connect at the same level with everybody unless everybody is from the very same environment, culture, growing up together, and you are part of that environment as well. Yeah. But that doesn't happen in the professional context. You have people coming from all over. Yes. But the main thing, the core thing of every good communication process of getting to connect is to know your audience. Yep. That is the thing I say to my clients, my students, everybody, know your audience as much as you can. Yep. This is your team players. This is your board members. These are your friends. These are the people in your networking. Know your audience. Understand how they communicate. Understand their language, not only the verbal language, but even more importantly, their non-verbal language. Yes. And the point here, Anna, is only by working on your own communication skills, by developing the self-awareness of how you come across, what are the first impressions that you give to people, that you will be able to read other people. Because the more you work on yourself, the more you discover your ways of expressing what works, what doesn't, that when people come to you, you are more alert in reading the in-between lines of their nonverbal communication.
Yeah. So what would you suggest if we know our audience? I mean, obviously I work with a lot of different cultures and I've lived and worked in different countries. So I'm lucky that I've got used to adapting. I've got used to understanding the different mentality, the different values, the different way of working. But for somebody who hasn't had that opportunity, what can they do, one, to improve their own communication style, but also to understand how they need to adapt this depending on the culture and even the context, because depending on whether it's a presentation or a negotiation or something like that, you also need to change the way you're coming across, the way that you're seen. How do we find this out, and how do we make ourselves feel comfortable doing these changes and adaptations? Because for some people, that's quite difficult, I should think.
Mm-hmm. You're right, very, very much there. It's a challenge to everyone. However, when you are already in the process, you are more alert. So you get the cues faster, and also because you're open for the cues.
Yes.
It's as always in life. And when you are not aware of things, when you're ignorant on the sense that you don't know about things, you are not able to perceive certain messages, certain how can I say, certain codes, certain reactions, because you're not attentive to that. It's only when you start working on yourself to be more perceptive that you will be able to connect with these different nuances of language, culture, etc. So answering your question is always start from the self. There's no magic pill that I can say, go and read that book and follow these 7 steps for that. It's not going to work. It will bring you some awareness of how to get started. But working communication is what we are, and what differentiates us from animals. Animals, they have their own way of communicating with the nonverbal, right?
Yes.
We do have that as well, but we somehow lost the contact with it, the connection, the perception with it, because we are too focused on what we say.
Yes.
And that would be my call to people who feel like, I really need to understand more, to connect more, to create a better first impression. It always starts to understanding your values, your principles, and who you are as a person, and what is important to you, because that is what you will bring with whatever you say. And there is where you have the opportunity to calibrate. If I'm saying something, but I'm coming across in a different manner, what is happening here is not the problem of your audience. It's a problem of you misaligned with your message. And what I say is, our body speaks all the time and loud.
Yes.
Very loud. But we are not aware of it.
Yes.
So what happens is you prepare yourself very much for a presentation, but somehow you are insecure. Somehow you don't believe very much what you're saying. Somehow you feel you're not really prepared. Somehow, whatever is happening, you will show that in your presentation, no matter how much you have prepared, unless you're a good actress. And this is what I say to people. That's our big difference from actresses. Because when we are presenting something, we are showing up, we should show up fully and truly who we are. We are with the message that we have prepared. So this has to be aligned. And the big difference we have from the actress and what a good actor is that person that study a character, a persona, and really study and live that persona and believe that she or he is that persona, to the point that they make everybody believe that they are that persona. But they do that for a period of time, right? Because they're acting and they know that. And also they even have to do a kind of therapy or other kind of trainings to disconnect from that persona when they go back to their lives, right?
Exactly.
So it's completely different. We have to come on stage, come to our presentation, come to our meetings, negotiation, fully, truly in our values, in our grounds, and in our preparation. So then we can transmit exactly what we want, because then our body will respond accordingly. Because when you're saying something, but you're not believing, your body will show. Unless you're a good actress. And when your body shows is when people look at you and say like, something's happening there. I don't know what it is, but you have this feeling. And then what happens there? You break the connection.
Yes.
And when you break the connection, you cannot build trust, because whatever you're doing, like, as I say, every time you're in front of people, whether it's in a professional environment, whether it's in a personal environment, you have the opportunity to influence them,
yes,
to change their mind, or to bring a new perspective to them. And that is what communication is about. And especially in a work environment, when we are presenting something, when we are in a meeting, we are there trying to persuade in most of the cases, because we bring an idea, we bring in a project, and I'm trying to tell Anna that what I'm saying is what she should do, should follow, should trust. And I am the first one to believe that.
Yes.
Because if I don't believe that, it will come across. So answering your question, for the ones there that feel insecure, that they don't feel confident, they have to look into themselves. They have to look into, is this what I'm doing here? Is this what I'm saying aligned with what I believe? If not, why? I understand also, just to finalize, that in work environments, sometimes you have to say things that you have to say. It's not really what you truly believe, but in those moments, then you will have to try your best to bring your message in the most convincing way, but we can only do this for a short period of time.
I used to have that, but I used to be in sales a long time ago, and I couldn't sell things that I didn't believe in, or if it was a way of selling that I didn't think was honorable or something like that, I couldn't do it because I just didn't believe it myself. So I needed to really believe in the product that was being sold for me to be capable of doing it well. And with some of the things, the only way that I could come across all right was look at the product, think of one or two parts of it, or one or two results or solutions that people would have from it, that I did believe in it, and focus on that. Because I mean, I hadn't thought about that before, but you saying that now and it aligning with your values and your beliefs, I can see that when I had problems selling some things, it was really because I just didn't believe in them. And I needed to find some part of it that I thought was good, or I thought was useful, or I thought was helpful, to be able to really put all of my belief behind it and therefore communicate properly. That's very interesting. And for sales and situations like that, I think it's very difficult sometimes to really come across. If you're just selling like on a conveyor belt, you don't have your heart in it. If it's something you really believe is good, you're not selling because you really believe in it. And so it's a completely different mentality, a different feeling, a different appearance. But that leads me on to something else. Some of the times when we're in presentations or meetings or whatever, we've got situations where we really need to break through barriers and sometimes even to build bridges. So if there's been some kind of crisis and it's all very complicated and difficult, we need to come across in the right way. So are there any specific communication skills that we can learn which help with that type of situation, you know, where we've got to break through the barriers or where we've got to build the bridges?
Absolutely. And it goes back again to know your audience, and goes back to the saying, like, listen to understand, then to be understood. That comes from Stephen Covey, from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Because the fact is, most people listen to reply. And they are not really listening. And when you are selling, as you said, sales is about emotions.
Yes.
If you come with a structure of like features, the features come after. I have to connect with you first, then the features come after. And it's the same for hard conversations, for difficult conversations, and for negotiations. The issue I find is that people come, I need to get this done, or I need these people to do this. And I want to bring my idea, even if I truly believe, and that's my greatest intention on that. But I come without listening, just putting my information there. I am, instead of breaking barriers, I'm building barriers.
Yep.
So what I have to do is, okay, this is my idea. This is my project. This is my view. And once you start reacting, because let's put in a difficult situation, people normally don't like change, because change, it's energy taken. Change means you have to do something different. You have to learn things. So the first reaction is, oh, I don't want that. But let's put that this is a situation. You present your idea. Then your job is to ask questions in all the objections.
Yes.
And better even, bring your ideas and think about all the objections your audience might have. And objections will differ depending on the audience needs. So prepare already the answer for the objections. And if you can, tell that as part of the presentation. For example, I present something saying, let's go to, a nice place now. Let's go to the Caribbean now, Anna.
Good idea.
And then Anna would say, this is a crazy idea. We are in the midst of the pandemic. We cannot go to the Caribbean. So I can then say, Anna, why do you fear so much? Have you not been vaccinated? I can go into the conversation to understand your fears of this traveling. Or I can come with my presentation and say, my suggestion is that we spend New Year's in the Caribbean. And you might be thinking that with the pandemic, we cannot go. But I tell you, if you're vaccinated, if you have done this and this and that, you see, I deal with the objections before they arise. And of course, some objections will come with that I have not thought about it. But then instead of reacting, be proactive and ask questions and try to understand the people's fear to that situation. So that is how you build the bridges. And that will be my suggestion to people. Because again, negotiations and talking difficult topics is all about how we can break this barrier and build a bridge without imposing each other. And it's not even like, say, the win-win, as we talked in the past. People say we have to find the win-win. Is even more than that, because in the win-win means that I have to give up something, you have to give up something for us to both win. But let's find a third solution where we both agree on something. And that can only happen if we are, at least the person presenting the case is open to listen actively and is prepared to ask good questions.
That's brilliant. That's so true, and it makes such a difference. But I know from everything you've been saying, obviously communication can have a really big impact, because we can see, with you saying, if you prepare, if you think of the potential objections first, so you present to remove them before they even happen. So the way we communicate has a big impact on what we do, how we do it. How can we use this also just to boost our own confidence and our own mindset without necessarily having to put it into a professional context? How can we use it for ourselves?
Well, I think we should start using that for ourselves first. And then the professional environment will be just a consequence of that.
Yeah.
So I go back to what I said, listen to understand, and first, then to be understood. That is something that we have to really monitor ourselves, because it's our nature, me included, even with all my years of experience. You're saying something, I have to hold myself back to not say something immediately after. And so certain cultures, especially Latin American cultures or Latin cultures, where we always speak at the same time. We always speak at the same time, so we have to speak very fast, otherwise we don't speak at all.
I remember.
And we tend to listen to things half. My husband is German, and when I am with my Brazilian friends, he wonders how we can have a conversation and understand each other, because everybody's speaking and answering everybody at the same time. Okay, these you can somehow manage in a social context, but it's not really effective. It's more like in a very relaxing, fun conversation.
Yes.
But even if you, amongst friends, you want to have a serious conversation, like really have a quality conversation, you have to learn how to listen.
Yes.
You have to give that space to the person.
Yeah.
Second thing is you have to learn how to ask questions, good questions, but questions, genuine questions with the intent to really understand what the other person is trying to say.
Yes.
Because most people have difficulties to express their thoughts, to give name to their emotions. This is another thing we have to learn. Give a name to our emotions. Doesn't say, oh, like I give feedback to you and I say, I didn't like that, Anna. And then you ask me, what did you didn't like? You say, oh, I don't know. I just felt something I was not right.
Yeah.
This information gives nothing to me as a feedback, because you're not telling me exactly how you felt, what exactly it was, when it was, what did I say that made you feel some way, and what was that way that you felt. And the big learning for us here is to learn to communicate clearly that way. Because in a way we are communicating like children. And children, because they don't have the words and we cannot expect them to, they are learning and they don't have the words. What they do, they scream, they cry, they provoke you until you make them cry, because they have to release that energy, that frustration, that inability to express through their crying.
Yes.
Or through hitting each other. So, but we are adults and we should not use the same method. But many people still use the same when we are talking, especially when it becomes an emotional conversation with a partner. There's like, oh, I'm upset. Oh, don't talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. But what have I done? Oh, I don't want to discuss with you right now, but we don't explain our feelings. So it never grows. So the point is, back to your question, is start working on yourself and understanding your feelings. Why do I feel like this?
Yes.
When do I feel like this?
Yep.
And what can I do to avoid feeling like this?
Yeah.
And when I feel like this, what am I going to do about it? Because another thing to understand that neuroscience says and explains, and I'm not a neuroscience here, but you will know there's a lot of information available out there now for lay people like us here. I don't know if you are in neuroscience and you know all that, but not me.
But I'm very interested
get what I
in
need.
it. Yes.
And one thing I've learned is that our brain learns by replacement. It's not like saying, I don't want that. Because when you say, I don't want that, you're just reinforcing what you don't want. Yes. If you don't tell your brain what you want instead.
Yes.
So it comes from the point when you ask people, what do you like, do you want in your life? And they, I don't know, but I know what I don't.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen? Everything that you don't, right?
Yeah.
And the same for your communication. What is happening that you don't, you're not expressing and you're not achieving the impact you want to create? Your message is not going across. And then a person says, well, I don't know, but I know that this goes wrong, this and this and this.
Yeah.
Okay, is a starting point.
Yes.
But the next exercise is, once you know what you don't, you have to ask yourself, what do I want to do instead?
Yeah.
Because every time that don't happens, you're going to tell yourself, okay, recognize that.
Yeah.
Yes, this is happening, but this is not what I want. And what I want instead is this.
Yeah.
And by repetition, your brain gets the message and learns that. And then every time the brain senses that, because it comes from a conscious command to an unconscious command.
Yes.
Because when your brain senses that, you don't even notice, but you're already doing what you want.
Yeah.
So that is the job we have to do.
Yeah.
And it's work.
Yeah.
There's no search. I don't have magic pill for that.
But it's very true, and it's very interesting when you go to the positive and where and how, and the good part and the good reaction. It makes such a difference. Very true. That's great. So, Tulia, any final piece of wisdom or any key strategy that we need to keep in mind to help us with this going forward?
Absolutely. I have even prepared here. I'm going to get my notes because I want to make sure that I give you the right message.
Okay.
Because the first one is have in mind that communication goes beyond words.
Yep.
It comes from within and comes from us to understand. And the moment we understand how our body is reacting in certain situations, we should really take that seriously.
Yep.
Even in the positives, because we tend to remember the bad things. But when you have a good moment, a good achievement, stop a moment there and you really embrace that moment and think to yourself, how did I manage to get this so well that makes me feel so good that I can replicate that in the future?
Yeah.
And for the not so good moments, how can I improve that? What am I going to do instead?
Yeah.
When I see that I'm facing this situation, what am I going to do instead? So the question you have to ask yourself is, am I walking my talk?
Uh-huh.
That's very important, because when you're not, is the same as your example for your sales.
Yes.
When you're selling something that you don't believe, your people are not going to buy from it.
Exactly.
And I know the sale word is a word that has a lot of taboo around it, but the fact is we are in a way selling ourselves all the time.
Yep.
Let's put marketing ourselves all the time, because every time we're communicating something, I am in a way telling you to get my idea, to implement what I'm saying, to trust me on what I'm saying.
Yep.
The second one is and know your audience.
Yep.
This is, as I said, you can. There's no such thing as one size fits all for your presentation, for your communication. And our job as a leader, as a communicator, someone who wants to get the message across, is to align our intention with the impact we want to create. We have to be attentive to our audience. We have to search our audience to learn about before, if it's a professional presentation. But if we are in a social environment, we should be more as a listener than the one speaking. Everybody likes speaking. Yes. And if the one that giving the space for people to listen, to speak, they will love it. Yes. And that's a very good position to be in, to be a good listener. You learn a lot by listening to people. Yeah. So my question for you to ask yourself is, am I really listening to understand, or I'm just listening to wait for my time to speak?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you should not speak, but I'm saying here is practice active listening.
Yep.
And the third and final one is look at your message. What are you saying? Is this really aligned with what you want to say? It goes back to the first one. Am I walking my talk? Because when we are going to give a presentation and people feel nervous, self-conscious, what they're going to think about me, and I'm a failure, the imposter syndrome. Yeah. I said, we have to shut up this lizard in our mind. We have the wizard and the lizard. The lizard is always screaming, because the fact is, you are only the vessel of your message. If you understand that and you accept that, and you go on your presentation, your conversation, and say to yourself before, I have a very important message to share. My message is important to these people. Yeah. I care about my message. I want to reach this result with this message, and focus on that. I guarantee you will enjoy, because you're going to be giving with your heart. So the big question is, who is giving the message? Is your ego running the show, or you are really honestly, genuinely trying to give your best to your audience? So that would be my 3 points for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Particularly the last one about, you're just the vessel giving it, because that takes the pressure off yourself, because people aren't judging you, the person. It's you're helping others to go forward or do whatever. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for those strategies, and really wisdom, because we don't see things like that and we don't think, but it really is wisdom, and it would help so much. Yeah.
And we are, I can give you just an example, which is not from me, it's from Maya Angelou, who passed away, I think, a couple of years ago. Yeah. And she was asked, and I don't know if you watched some of her presentations, she was this very easygoing, laughable woman on stage and engaged. You just felt like going, sit in her lap.
Yes.
And she had this thing, and she spoke for thousands of people. And there was a moment she was asked once there, how can you come in front of these people so relaxed, alone in that big stage, and feels like that is a big room in your home? And she said, alone? Me? I'm never alone. I come with my luggage of my life experience, with everybody who contributed to that. And I bring them all with me when I'm on stage. I'm never alone. So this will be the message I'll give to your audience. You're never alone. You are a collection of your knowledge. But when you're there on stage, give that collection. Bring these people, this experience, these stories, this everything that you carry with you to the people, and give generously to them. Yeah. They will love you. They will appreciate, and you will feel very good. And as you said, you're the vessel. Then you'll be relaxed. You don't need to worry about yourself. Yeah. You're sharing a journey, experience with your audience.
Perfect. Thank you, Tulia. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again. I love this. I'm going to listen to it again myself several times, because I'm sure there's a load of tips I can pick up for myself. And I'm sure all of my audience who come in and listen regularly, they're going to be delighted, because there is so much valuable information to really give people confidence. So thank you so much for coming back on the show.
My pleasure. And if I may add to share with your audience that in next year, January, I'll be launching what I call the monthly coach. And I will be just popping in, jumping in on screen, and I will talk about those things. And you can ask questions, and let's have a conversation, and let's keep growing together.
Oh, perfect. That would be great. Send me the links. So I'll put all the links for everything on the page, and so everyone can find it and they can join in with you. Thank you very much for letting them know about that. It's lovely. Anyway, Tulia, I hope that we speak again soon. It would be great to have you back on the show again in less than 3 years this time.
Hopefully, yes.
And have a great rest of the week. Speak to you again soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening in, for watching. Don't hesitate to contact Tulia for any more information. Visit her website, see her social media. She has some really very valuable information, and I'm sure you'd love hearing more and benefiting from it. So bye, everybody, and see you again next week.